What's up, guys, and welcome to Gamescript. Tonight we're looking at the Minnesota Vikings versus the Los Angeles Rams. It's a game that has a lot of offensive injuries that we got to sort through, but also some defensive injuries that should impact how we draft our teams, and I'll dig into it right after this. What's up, guys, and welcome to Gamescript. I'm Simon Edwards, aka Pumacom with Heatseeker Sports, and you're looking at a game. We're looking at a game here where we got the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Rams. We got a 48.5-point total with the Vikings as 2.5-point favorites. So we got home dogs in the Rams. The Rams have traditionally played well on Thursday night. They are I believe, a 4-1 record at home on Thursday night, and I think a 6-2 under Sean McVay since he's taken over as coach. 6-2 overall, 4-1 at home. So Rams have done very well at home under Sean McVay. We're in a situation where they're playing against Minnesota tonight, though. Minnesota's defense has been pretty strong, but they have been susceptible in the passing game. And in the past, Matthew Stafford has been a blitz beater, and they are playing a team in Minnesota that blitzes a ton under Brian Flores. And I think that we can build some lineups. I haven't really seen a clear indication of which way people are leaning as far as they're more heavy on the Vikings or more heavy on the Rams yet. But we can build for both scenarios. I think that Matthew Stafford has a potential to maybe have his best game of the year. We got Cooper Kupp coming back. Puka Nacua is questionable still, but Rams are optimistic that he'll be back. And on the Vikings side, they should have TJ Hawkinson back tonight. So both teams should be on offense about as healthy as they've been as far as their weapons. Make sure to hit that like button before I dig into this player pool. I'm looking for 30 likes to put out a shorter video later on. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Looking for 1,100 subscribers. Trying to get to that by Sunday. I'm at about 30 short of that number right now. So if you hit the subscribe, that's great. And you want to hit the subscribe anyways to get alerts for when the short video comes out. Usually comes out about an hour before lock, but I don't put it out unless I get those 30 likes on the video. So hit the like, subscribe to the channel, and sign up for those alerts. All right, so let's dig into this game. Got an interesting one. A lot of potent weapons in this game. We got like Justin Jefferson, Kyren Williams, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, potentially. He's listed as questionable. He hasn't been taken off IR just yet. Should have. I believe it has to happen here soon, though. So we'll see what the situation is with Puka Nacua as we get closer to lock. But he's a guy that we're going to want to, account for when we're building our lineups. I think that if Puka does play, he's going to be more of a decoy type of guy. They're going to work him in slowly, I would imagine. He coming off of some kind of a knee injury. Yeah, knee injury for Puka Nacua. So, they probably would work him in a little bit more slowly, but he'll be good for these other guys as another potential receiving threat. Justin Jefferson, he's been having a pretty good year, not as big as we normally see out of him. He hasn't had one of those monster 30-point, plus DraftKings points weeks yet, but he's been, in that 20-point range for most of the weeks. But faces off against this Rams defense that's been giving up. Give an idea of how much these Rams have been giving up per game. Rams have been giving up to wideouts 20 DraftKings points a game. So, that's a middling level. Slot receivers, the Rams have been pretty good against, actually. They've only been giving up 8.4 DraftKings points a game. So, Rams defense, as bad as it's been, has not necessarily been, like as bad as we might suspect, especially against those slot receivers there. Just going to confirm that number. Yeah, 8.4 DraftKings points a game to slot receivers. They've been more vulnerable to wideouts, but they're still, kind of a middling matchup against wideouts. So the Rams have been more susceptible against the run, where they're giving up 25 DraftKings points a game. So that is going to be good for Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, he's been having a decent year too with the Vikings. And I would anticipate him to have a really good game tonight. And from a captain perspective, he's pretty cheap at about the sixth highest cost guy compared to some of these other options up here. Like Jefferson is going to be super expensive. Maybe Rams. We can build our game scripts where the Rams shut him down a little bit and justify not having him in the captain. But I do think that he's going to be, the highest volume guy on the slate probably. Kyren Williams has been having another great year. Kyren Williams, just about, at least 15 DraftKings points per game, for a running back, that's solid. And he's had his past four have been about, 20 plus DraftKings points. So he's been doing really well this year. A lot of people were fading him in the preseason for best ball, which was, like just a dumb, group think / galaxy brain there going on after Blake Corum got drafted. Everyone expected him to, take a lot of work away from Kyren Williams. You can understand the rationale, but McVay, he leans on, like the running backs that he's used to, and he doesn't really turn to rookies or new guys until he's forced to. And he's proven that this season with Blake Corum once again. And Kyren Williams has been benefiting from that. Cooper Kupp got hurt in week 2, but he had that monster game in week 1 against Detroit. I would expect in a game where they blitz a lot and they're playing heavy zone coverage, which is what Flores does, they're going to be targeting Cooper Kupp a ton tonight. So Cooper Kupp is like a great captain option. Probably underpriced relative to these other guys, but he's still, like an expensive guy. Puka Nacua, I think he's going to be more of a decoy, like I mentioned earlier. So I'm not really too interested in Nacua. If he plays, keep an eye out to see if he plays. Darnold has been a little sluggish the past couple games, especially against the Jets. He only had 6 DraftKings points against the Jets. The Rams are only allowing 16 DraftKings points a game to quarterback position. So they've been more of a run funnel defense. So don't be surprised if Darnold, does not have a outstanding game tonight, but he could definitely make it into our optimals for sure. So no reason to like if you have a lean towards Darnold, no reason to get away from that really. But if you're looking for a reason to fade Darnold, there's good reason to fade him as well. Matthew Stafford has had a horrible season, as you can see here. Minnesota's defense, despite being really susceptible to the pass game, have been pretty good against quarterbacks. They've been middling, allowing 16.6 DraftKings points a game. So that's a tick up from what Darnold's matchup is, but that's middling. Running backs, they've been stopping. They've only allowed 20 DraftKings points a game to running backs, 19.7. So that's where we might turn from Kyren Williams a little bit more towards Matthew Stafford's side, especially if we see a lot of ownership on Kyren Williams, which he tends to have. We got Cooper Kupp back, like I mentioned. That's good for Stafford as well because the slot is where Minnesota's been most vulnerable. And they're actually giving up 20.2 DraftKings points a game to slot receivers. They're giving up 24 DraftKings points a game to wideouts. So the overall matchup for wide receivers in general versus Minnesota is really good, and that's perfect timing for Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua to come back. Although, like I said, I don't expect Nacua to do much in this game tonight, but I could be wrong on that. I've been wrong plenty of times, so make sure to read up on those beat reporters. A, to make sure he plays, and B, to see what kind of usage he might get tonight. Jordan Addison is in a similar situation to Justin Jefferson, where teams have been leaning more on the run against the Rams. But Addison has not really had that breakout game yet this year. He had that 22.9 point game, 23-point game against Green Bay back in Week 4. If this game shoots out a little bit, Jordan Addison will be a good play in this game. If you're building those game scripts, if you believe that the Rams defense is good and they're going to be slowing down this Minnesota, at least Justin Jefferson, Addison makes a great guy to pivot to, and he's going to be significantly cheaper at $7K than Justin Jefferson. So if you're building a lineup that is you're not able to squeeze Justin Jefferson in there, then you have that fallback option with Jordan Addison. You also got Jalen Naylor, who's been really good in spots this year. 11 DraftKings points against Detroit, 12 against Houston. He's had his moments. The matchup itself with Naylor is not that great, as the Rams have only been giving up 8.4 DraftKings points a game to the slot. That also dings Justin Jefferson a little bit, because Justin Jefferson's running 38% of his routes from the slot. The guy that it doesn't affect as much is Jordan Addison, who is only running 29% of his routes from the slot. So, if I was leaning towards Addison or Naylor, I might lean a little bit more towards Naylor in this one. Get an idea of the percentage maybe of, let's see, get an idea of Minnesota's pass catchers against man coverage. Is not what the Rams typically use. They're about 6th highest zone rate coverage from the Rams. So heavy zone coverage against zone. Justin Jefferson has had a 26% target share. Addison's at 18%, and Naylor's way down there at 9.6%. So another tiebreaker there for Addison over Naylor, in case for some reason you were thinking maybe Naylor would be a better pick. But then again, with ownership, if you're monitoring ownership, let's get an idea of Naylor. Naylor has a total ownership projection of about 9%, versus Addison has a total ownership projection of around 25%. So, game theory, if you want to go Naylor over Addison for the ownership play, that makes a lot of sense too. Addison has, from the analytics and peripherals, has the better matchup and the better opportunity potentially tonight. Check on to make sure I don't have any news on Naylor. Yep, no. All right, so next up we got the kickers. Whitechard. Whitechard's been really good. Look at all these double-digit weeks he's had. If Darnold is starting to revert back to old Darnold, we saw him start off hot in the past, and he just crumbles mid-season. If that happens again, I don't necessarily think that will happen, because I think the coaching here is better than Darnold's had to work with in the past. Then Darnold might convert those touchdowns instead of failing to convert. But we've seen it with Reichard so far this season. He's had out of 6 weeks, he's had 4 weeks over double-digit points. That's a pretty consistent track record, and Minnesota should have no problem moving the ball. and I think that he's a good guy to keep in our player pool for sure. He's expensive at 5,400. Hawkinson's another guy that's going to be back this week. Let's see. He was listed as questionable, but now I'm seeing, like, if I click on his name, it says he's out. You're gonna have to take a close look at Hawkinson tonight. Like, keep a good track of him leading into tonight's game. Let me check on see if there's been any news released on him. Because if Hawkinson's in, he's coming off an ACL tear, so I would expect him to get worked in easily. But that might just mean, he's playing less blocking downs and he's more of a pass catcher, like focusing purely on pass catching work. But I don't see any updates on him yet. So Hawkinson, he might be good for a touchdown tonight, but 5,200. He's playing against a Rams defense that's allowing 15 DraftKings points a game. This might be a sneaky game to play Munt if people are going to be jumping on the Hawkinson train, because Munt has a really good matchup. He's at 2,800, and we've seen Munt get some targets at least. 5 targets in the last game. He's had several games with over 3 targets. He's only 2,800. If Hawkinson plays, he might soak up a lot of the ownership and attention with this good tight end matchup for Minnesota. But Munt might be the play to take advantage of that matchup, depending on like how much usage we anticipate Hawkinson getting. And that's one thing that you want to keep an eye on beat reports for when that news comes out about Hawkinson tonight. But he's coming off an ACL tear. Those are hard to come off of right off the bat and be productive. But, Hawkinson's a beast. So I wouldn't take him out of my player pool. He's at 5,200. But, I think these kickers, I like Rijkaard. Not sure how to pronounce his name. Rijkaard the best, I think, between him and Hawkinson. I would probably lean Rijkaard. That could bite me in the ass easily, but at the same time, I just think, given the situation of Hawkinson coming off an ACL tear, I think that makes a lot of sense. Cardi has struggled a little bit for the Rams. He missed a field goal and an extra point last week, and he missed another field goal against Chicago. Really has not had much output, but then again, like, their offense has been decimated without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. So, Cardi, I wouldn't take him out of your player pool, but 5K is kind of expensive. This might be where, like, I would lean Rijkaard, Hawkinson, and then Cardi. I like the order that they're in, like, for my preferences, but depending on if we hear any limitations or what kind of limitations we see on Hawkinson. But Cardi is an option there too on the Rams. And honestly, like, the Rams shouldn't have trouble moving the ball tonight with Cooper Kupp back, and the Vikings' weakness against the pass. Like, I would expect them to be able to move the ball. Maybe they struggle a little bit in the red zone and closer to the end zone. So maybe we see Cardi coming in here to scoop up some of those field goals. At the same time, if McVay does not trust Cardi because he's missed a couple in the past couple weeks, then maybe they go for it on fourth more than they normally would, considering they got Kupp back as well on that, and Nacua, if Nacua plays. Vikings defense is missing one of their key members of the defense, and this might go a little bit underappreciated, that the linebacker Blake Cashman is out for Minnesota. And that's significant because he's the guy that wears the green dot on his helmet, and he's the one that is doing all the communication. And he was out last week too. And you saw the score in that Lions game last week, where they gave up 31 points to the Lions. They've given up 29 points on one other occasion to Green Bay, but without Cashman, they looked pretty lost out there on defense. And I was listening to Gruden's podcast, which is pretty good. He gives a good breakdowns of these games as well. He was talking up about Cashman, the significance of him being out and what that means for this Minnesota defense. Now, put that together with Stafford's past against the blitz. He hasn't been good for the past couple years, where they've been like decimated by injuries. But prior to the last couple years, Stafford was one of the highest rated quarterbacks against the blitz. And now he gets Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp back. The defense is missing their chief linebacker, and all that spells a recipe for where we might see the Stafford blitz beater coming back out again. So keep that in mind with Matthew Stafford and this Vikings matchup tonight. Playing at home, the success that Sean McVay has had at home on Thursday nights in particular, and there's a lot of positives here for Stafford to pull out an unexpected nice game against this Minnesota defense. As far as the Rams, and that might be all those combined factors might be where we're seeing this 2.5 point spread, even though they're dogs at home. But I'd be interested in Spread of Stairs' take on this. Make sure to check out his take on this. He typically likes home dogs. In this situation here, he might actually like the Rams in this game too. So keep an eye out for Spread of Stairs content today if he puts out anything on the Rams versus the Vikings. Let's take a look as we go through some more of these injuries. I don't see anything else that stands out on Minnesota, at least not to me. On the Rams side, Troy Reeder is out. We got tackle Joseph Noteboom is out, and Jordan Whittington is out. And then we got all that stuff with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp should be back. Puka Nacua is up in the air. We should probably know that in another couple hours here, because they're going to have to activate him or decide if they want him to be active tonight pretty soon. Parkinson has not been really great, although he's had that one game where he got 13 targets. He's been targeted a decent amount, but Minnesota, middling matchup here against the tight end, but with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua both potentially back, I would look towards maybe away from Colby Parkinson, but at 4,400, he's a cheap potential guy that's going to get targets tonight, so I wouldn't rule him out of my player pool. I'm more interested in Tutu Atwell because of what I was talking about with the Vikings. Their weak pass defense is going to open the door for deep balls, and Tutu Atwell will be interesting in that situation. 9 targets last week, 10 targets the week before that. 6 targets, 5 targets. He's been busy with these other guys injured. Get an idea of his ownership. Total ownership should be about 32% tonight. That is pretty high for him, higher than I would have thought. But I do like Tutu Atwell tonight. I also like the guy that Stafford targets when he's being blitzed is Tyler Johnson. Tyler Johnson, 7 targets last week. He's had a few good weeks too, but Tyler Johnson's only 3,200. So Tyler Johnson and Tutu Atwell are guys that I would pair with Cooper Kupp. I don't know if I wouldn't play them together. I maybe put a rule in my lineup builder not to play those guys together, but I don't mind playing one of those guys, one or the other, with Cooper Kupp in especially lineups where I'm going heavier on the Rams passing game. So Tutu Atwell and Tyler Johnson are both interesting. Ty Chandler, not so interested in Ty Chandler unless you're projecting some sort of a blowout script. But I see him at, he really hasn't done much at all this year, and I'm just not leaning towards Ty Chandler for anything. Rams defense might be interesting with that Darnold situation, because Darnold has been, coming apart a little bit, and the Rams have been getting a bunch of turnovers recently. We see 3 interceptions against Vegas. We see 1 against Green Bay. They're playing at home in a game where they should be hyped up. I would not be surprised to see the Rams defense have a decent game against Sam Darnold, and we can see Sam Darnold, turning back into a pumpkin here any week now. Although he's been playing really well, and you got to give him credit for that. Demarcus Robinson, he's another guy that gets a big, steady, consistent snap share. Take a look at snap shares here. All right, I'm going to look at the Rams. Let's look at some of these snap shares. I'll share this this source with you guys. Is Fantasy Pros. You go to their snap shares. You see these are the last all the weeks throughout the season, right? Whittington had 16% last week because he got hurt. Obviously 0 for Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Tyler Johnson and Demarcus Robinson each had 91% snap shares last week. Tutu Atwell had a 78% snap share. And then Xavier Smith had 9%. But this 91 might be interesting for us when we're deciding between Atwell and Tyler Johnson on which way to lean to pair up with Cooper Kupp in our Ram stacks. But both 91%, I would imagine that maybe Atwell gets downgraded. Let's take a look at some of these other. In week 1, Tyler Johnson had 65%. Atwell had 8%. 87 in week 2 versus 19. 50 versus 74. That was with Kupp out. So, yeah, I mean, I would anticipate maybe Tyler Johnson to be less impacted by the return of both those other receivers. But, he also has kind of a matchup advantage with getting targeted versus the blitz. But Demarcus Robinson, that was the whole reason I was going over there. So Demarcus Robinson has been steady throughout. He's the wide receiver 3 no matter what. It looks like 92, 92, 93, 85, 97, 91. So Demarcus Robinson should stay in. But if we look over at what he's done so far this year, really not drawing that many targets, but he's had a couple weeks with 4+ targets. I'm much more interested in those other guys though. But Demarcus Robinson, should be in the player pool tonight in this matchup as well. Munt, I talked about Blake Corum just not getting the work with Kyron Williams leading the way. Unless you think Williams gets hurt or something, like Corum's really kind of obsolete. Akers joined Minnesota recently. Same thing though with what's his face with Chandler. I'm just not interested in those secondary running backs. And Oliver's the other tight end. Looks like he got a touchdown 1 week. So, if you want to pivot off of Munt or Hawkinson, then, I think Oliver's in play with that weakness against the against the defense. But keep in mind with Oliver, he's likely not to get much work, or he might not even get any opportunities at all tonight. All right, so let's get into this build. Make sure to hit that like button. Give me the 30 likes so we can put out a shorter video a little bit later on. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. You want to subscribe to the channel to get alerts for when I put up my shorter videos. You do that by subscribing to the channel and clicking the little bell. I'm looking for 1,100 subscribers. I'm only about 30 away, so help me out with that, guys, if you like these videos. All right, so let's go with, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones as my first captain. I like the matchup there. It seems like the biggest point of weakness on the Rams. And I think that defense is going to give Darnold a little bit of trouble tonight, potentially. At least that's the way I'm going to build the script. I like Kupp. I'm going to put Stafford in, and I'm going to pair them with one of these cheap guys. I'm going to go with, where's he at? I'm going to go with Johnson at 3,200. So I got Stafford paired with two receivers, running it back with Jones on the other side so far. This is leaving me 6,200 left per player. So I can go a little bit higher here. If I got no Jefferson, let's put Jefferson in. That leaves me with $600. So this is a situation where maybe I say, okay, first of all, let's look and see if we have any cheap guys that would be worth playing. Sherfield. If I was going anywhere, I'd go Sherfield with this dumpster dive. Let's see what. Let me get an idea what Sherfield's snap share is. 7% last week, 12%, 32, 24, 30, and 31. So they pared him down big time against Detroit. Yeah, he's really not doing well. Not doing well on the team. Let me take a look at, see if I can get an idea of a guy that we can go cheap here. Minnesota. Brandon Powell's obviously a guy that, we might be able to look at. Just trying to look at targets over the last, few weeks here to see if anyone stands out. Yeah, there's really no one that stands out. So, yeah, I mean, if I was taking a swing here, I think Sherfield makes the most sense. Is this N'Keal Harry? Yeah, N'Keal Harry is on the Vikings now. He has not been in a game yet. He looks like he's on the practice squad. But yeah, I mean, really, it just restricts you when you put Jefferson in this build, in this particular build. So let's put in Addison instead. Let's say Addison, like maybe get some of the work that Jefferson would normally get. That leaves us with Ricard. We could put Ricard in there. I think that makes a lot of sense. Vikings D or Rams D makes sense. I don't know if I'd go, like I said, I don't know if I'd triple stack Stafford. I'd rather go with one of these kickers, or maybe Hawkinson. One of those kickers or Hawkinson. You can even rotate out for a build like this. Just rotate Ricard, Hawkinson, and Cardi. That gives you a pretty good build with Aaron Jones as the captain. So let's clear that out. Let's do one with Kupp. Kupp's going to be a high captain ownership tonight. But let's see what it can get for us. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to get Jones in there. I'm going to go Stafford. I'm going to give him Tyler Tyler Johnson again. That last build I did too, you can rotate in Atwell in that build as well. And then when we got this going here, let's get Addison back in. Leaves us with 4,700. It's going to limit us a little bit more to, like Atwell, Ramsey, Chandler, Robinson. So, I mean, this build, I wouldn't want to go like a like a 3-way stack with Kupp and the captain, but it's just kind of where the build takes us, because it doesn't leave us with many options other than putting in that third receiver with Stafford. If we wanted to put Stafford in the captain, he's going to have minimal ownership because he hasn't done anything this year, but he also hasn't had his weapons. Let's say Stafford to Kupp and Johnson. We got Aaron Jones on the other side. We might be able to put in Justin Jefferson in this build. That gives us 900 to play with. Yeah, same situation there. Very hard to get Justin Jefferson in with these type of builds. So let's put Addison back in there. That leaves us with 5,700. That puts us in that same spot where we got these good options here. So that gives you, you could potentially do a 4-2 Rams build there. If you wanted to do Justin Jefferson, the captain, keep in mind he'll be 20+% owned in the captain. And that is hard to cash in, because you're automatically got 20% of the field on the same captain as you. So just very, very difficult to build as well with the salary constraints that's going to give you. So even guys without Justin Jefferson in the captain, unless Justin Jefferson has a monster game, those other guys without Justin Jefferson and the captain will be passing you because they'll be able to distribute their salary better. But let's put Kupp in this. Let's put Jones maybe. And let's go down here again and get let's get Johnson in this one too. This is with 4,200 per guy. If you guys have a cheap guy that you like, you use him. I'm going to go with, I'll go with Rijkaard again. That's 3,100. If you wanted to go instead of Rijkaard, if you wanted to go Cardi on this one, 3,500. That puts you in Robinson, Munt. Like Munt might be the better option here, but it's a very tough way to build with Jefferson the captain. Let's try it with one of these with the cheap guy. Let's put in Addison as the captain and see what we can do with that. So if we have Addison in the captain, I'm going to put in Kupp. I'm going to put in Stafford. I'm going to put in Jones. I'm going to give us that cheap second weapon again for Stafford. Give him Ty Johnson. Leaves us with 6,700. I mean, Naylor, you have as an option. I'd like to get to Darnold in this build, so let's put Darnold in there. And let's take out Stafford. Leaves us with 6,300. This build, you have Naylor as an option, but I think Naylor and Addison might be Naylor's the slot, but he's expensive at 6,200. It's just so expensive. But 6,200, he's in the slot. Let's see what that matchup was again. Slot receivers, they only get 8 points a game from the Rams, so I just don't like using Naylor there. I'd say leave salary on the table and maybe go down to Rijkaard there too. 5,400. You'll leave about 900 on the table in that situation. You could put Hawkinson in there, Vikings D, like all sorts of ways you can go there. But, plenty of different directions to go. Make sure to hit that like button. Get me to 30 likes so it can trigger the shorter video later on. Subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 1,100 subscribers. And also make sure when you're subscribing to hit the alerts button so you make sure that you're getting the alerts when the short video comes out. All right, guys, good luck, and I'll see you with the shorter video.